Hey, what's up guys? Today we're going to take a look at editable shattered text in Photoshop. I'm using Photoshop CS6 and we're going to create something similar to this. Now before we get going, jump over into your web browser. I'm going to have links to all of these downloads in the description to this video. I need you to download this Shattered Glass brush, DeviantArt. It's free. And also pretty much any distressed brush pack you can find. Here's a free one on brusheasy.com. And then also if you want to exactly follow along with what I'm doing, Novecento Wide is a great free font over at fontsquirrel.com. You can download and follow along. I'm going to go back over to Photoshop and I'm going to open my new document here just with a background. I'm going to make sure my foreground color is set to white by hitting the letter D and then the letter X, and then I'm going to grab my type tool and I'm going to click anywhere on my document. And I'm going to type the words shock and I'm going to commit that, and then I'm going to create a second text field and type the word awesome. So there we go. Now I'm going to grab my move tool right up there, and I will grab the shock and text layer first, kind of bring it to about the middle of the working area here in Photoshop. Then I'm going to grab the word awesome and I'm going to drag that over as well. I want to make shock and quite a bit larger, so I'm going to go edit, free transform, and then I'm going to hold down my shift and alt. If you're on the Mac, that would be shift and option keys, and I'm going to scroll this up. We want pretty large text. The larger our text is, the easier it's going to be to create the shattered effect. In fact, if you want really small text that's going to have this shattered effect, I probably recommend that you create the text huge first and then just size it down to the smaller size that you need. And you're going to see how that's possible because everything is going to be based on paths here in Photoshop. So I'm going to scroll this, or size this up, I should say. There we go. Command or Control T, by the way, is the hotkey to free transform. I'm going to select the awesome text layer. I'm going to move it way over here to the edge, and I'm actually going to make this a little bit larger as well. So something like so, and then I'm just going to grab them both and sort of align them roughly like that. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to select both layers. So select the top layer in your layers panel, hold down the shift key, select the bottom layer, and hit Command or Control E. It's going to merge them together, and actually we don't want to do that because we want to convert these to a path. So let's just do this one layer at a time. I'm going to right click on this and choose Create Work Path, or actually let's go Convert to Shape. I'm going to convert that to a shape, and I'm going to do the same thing with the awesome layer. Right click, convert to shape. Now if I merge both of these layers together, it's going to merge them into one big layer shape. So the way I did that, I selected both layers and hit Command or Control E, and boom, it merges those two shape layers together. Now I believe that little command is new to Photoshop CS6, I want to say. It might be 5.5, but I believe it's CS6. So if you're working in an older version of Photoshop, you might not be able to merge your paths and have them converge as one path. If that's the case, just leave them as separate type layers and you'll be able to work with them as well. And after we've done that, it's going to be time to go ahead and load some brushes. So let's go ahead and use our brush tool. Hotkey is B, right click, and it's going to bring up your little brush panel here. We're interested in this little flyout menu in the top right corner. Select that and go down to Replace Brushes. Now here I have my two brush packs that I've downloaded in a folder. I just downloaded them, extracted them, put them in a folder. I'm more interested in the distressed brush pack right now, so I'm going to double click that to open it up. And there we go, we have some distressed brushes. Now, we're going to use these to sort of texturize this type a little bit. So if you've never done this before, we're going to go Layer, Layer Mask, Reveal All. Now, we have the awesome shape layer, this shape layer here with all of our type on it. We have that selected. So I'm going to go Layer, Layer Mask, Reveal All. Great. Now that we've done that, make sure your foreground color is set to black. Grab the brush tool, and I'm going to right click and grab any one of these brushes. See, it's these huge textures. I want to make it a little bit smaller, maybe bring it down to around 700 or 800. And then I'm just going to click a couple times, and I'm going to click a couple times here. I'm not going to paint with these brushes. I'm just going to click a few times, add some texture. Let's grab another one here. I want to, by the way, I'm trying to avoid the ones with lots of like really big chunky texture, because you see if I paint with that, it just destroys the integrity of the type altogether. So I want more of the subtle texture brushes here. Great. Cool. Now that we've done that, a couple there. I really like to also work the edges of the type when I'm texturizing stuff like that, or like this, I should say. So just a few of these more subtle brushes. There we go. Great. So make this a little bit smaller. Boom. Add some more texture. Add some more texture. Cool. Let's size this one down just a smidge. There we go. Very nice. I'm just really trying to almost break the type up with this textured stuff that we're applying here. Great. So now that we've done this, we've applied enough texture, I think. It looks good enough. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and create the shattered bits that are going to be cutting away our type, and then take a look at how we can further customize that. So the first step to doing that is create a new layer. Over in the Layers panel, hit the new layer icon, and we're going to name this layer Shattered. Now, this layer, we're not going to really end up using it for anything other than creating paths, so you can name it whatever you want. We're probably going to end up just hiding the layer later on as the tutorial progresses. Now, right-click again with your brush tool and go to the flyout menu. This time choose Load Brushes, and we're going to grab the broken glass brushes. Open that up, and you can see here we have these, whatever it is, 8 different broken glass brushes. I'm going to start with the last one. Now, what I want to do is I just want to paint these bits of broken glass just like that, but I want to do it so you see these sort of like spider arms sticking off of the broken glass. Those are going to serve as bits of path that are going to be cutting through our type. So I don't want to really paint the big shattered glass or the broken glass center area. I don't really want that to be on top of the type. But I want these straight lines coming off of the shattered glass to overlap over the type. So just watch how I do it, and you'll see as soon as I start doing it. The other thing is this shattered glass brush is painting with white. I want to be able to see it, so I'm going to choose a color that's going to show up. I'll go with a good orange because you can never go wrong with a good color orange. All right, I'm going to just click 1, 2, 3 times right there. Just place that bit of shatteredness there, and then I'm also going to do it 1, 2 times right there. So you can see how the arms or the spider legs coming off of our shattered glass, they are cutting through the text. The actual broken glass that you can see is hanging out where it's not touching the text. I'm going to grab another one of these broken glass brushes, and I'm going to make that bit of orange right there go right through the letter D, sort of cut that in half. I'm going to grab this brush here, and I'm going to click 1, 2, 3 times there, and then maybe also a little bit over. Actually, I'm going to make the brush a little bit smaller. I'm going to size it down just a touch, and I'm going to come into here. Whoops. Let's go to 250 pixels. Great. And then I'm going to hop right over here into the middle of the C. Click 1, 2, 3 times. So we're going to sort of fragment the C a little bit. Actually, let me undo that. I'm going to click 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times maybe. I want that to be much more solid. And you'll see why I want it to be solid in just a moment. All right, we're going to grab one more brush here. Let's go with 905, or the 905 pixel brush, I'm sorry. And I'm going to click once, twice there. And then I'm going to cut the letter D and then actually go right through to the letter N. Right over here as well. Now, the only letter that's sort of missing any kind of brokenness is the A, so let's actually target that real quick before we get going. And I'm going to use this brush here, the 918 brush. I'm going to size this down quite a bit and go 1, 2, 3, 4, and now we're breaking the A into a bunch of different shapes. Actually, I'm going to undo that. I want to move that brush down just a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, cool, like that. There we go. So when you're using these shatter brushes, it's really best to go with less shatters than more. I might have actually done too many here, but we'll know as soon as we go and try to break the type up with it. It's just a matter of touch and feel. So you'll go through it, see if it works, and if it doesn't, you'll have to go back and adjust the shattered glass. So let's see if this works. What we need to do is load these bits of shattered glass as a selection. We do that by Command or Control clicking the layer thumbnail of the shattered type layer. And what I want to do is convert these selections to paths. So we're going to do this by first selecting the Marquee tool and then right-clicking on any one of the bits of selection and choose Make Work Path. And we want to make this work path very close, or as close as we can get to the selection. So we're going to set the tolerance to the very minimum of 1 pixel and hit OK. And it's going to make the selection go away. In fact, if we hide the shattered type layer, you're going to see we have these very complex paths that Photoshop has just drawn for us. So the advantage to this is our shape layer here, this is a path that is making the shape, it's vector. So now that we have these very complex paths creating all this shattered effect, we can make this path actually subtract from the path that is creating this text layer, and therefore have a fully vectored shattered type effect, not just like the masking we've applied on top with the texturization, but we'll have a fully vector piece of bits of broken text that we can move and adjust and things like that. So here's how we do this. We're going to select that path, but we deselected the path. Where did it go? Well, it's still saved under the Paths panel. So right there is our path. In fact, we can double click it and save it as shatter. And now that we've done that, what we're going to do is actually copy this. So I'm going to go to the direct selection tool, which is right here, is the white arrow. We don't want the direct selection tool, though. We want the black arrow down here, the path selection tool. Now, this is not the move tool like you may be thinking. This is the path selection tool. So what we're going to do is we're going to just highlight the entire area. I'm just dragging a selection over it, grab all of these paths, and we're going to copy them. So we're going to go Edit, Copy. So we've just copied all of those paths. And while we're here in the Paths panel, let's actually just deselect all these paths too, because we've already copied them to the clipboard. Let's get them out of the way. You can do that by just clicking anywhere in the Paths panel. It's going to deselect that path. Jump back over to the Layers panel now. We need to select the path that is making up our type layer here. So what we're going to do is with our direct selection tool, we are going to make sure we have that selected. And what's going on? There we go. We can drag that out. I was in the mask there for a second. So make sure you select your shape layer like so and drag a selection over all the type just like that. Once we have all of these paths selected, you can very clearly see they are in fact paths. We want to go ahead and paste in this all the complex paths that we just copied. So we'll go Edit, Paste, and we've just pasted them in. Now it looks a little crazy. The important thing is do not deselect this because all of these paths are now in the shape layer and we only have selected all of these complex glass shatter paths that we've created. If you deselect this, it's going to be very difficult to just reselect all of the shattered glass and not the type because the type is not selected here. Now what we want to do is we want to go to the path operations icon right here, this little icon, and we're going to choose the subtract front shape option. There we go. And what that's done is it's basically gotten rid of all the fill inside of our cracked paths, and it's just going to use whatever paths are crossing over our type, and it's going to knock that stuff out. So again, this is why it's important not to have a ton of glass painted because you'll really start to destroy your type altogether and have huge pieces of letters missing and all kinds of craziness. So now that we've done that, we're going to actually select everything. And again, we're using the black arrow still, the path selection tool. We're going to go ahead and select everything. This includes the text layer, or the text paths, excuse me. We're going to go back to the path operations drop down here, and we're going to choose the merge shape components option. There we go. Once we've done this, it's going to take Photoshop just a moment to go ahead and process because there's so much going on with all of these paths. I mean, there's several hundred anchor points alone, not to mention all the paths, and now it's got to do all of the calculations to make sure all the type is being cut up correctly, so a short wait time here. And you can see it now that we've done that. Well, you can't really see too much because all of the type is still selected and everything is still selected. But if we deselect this shape layer, you can see we have all of this brokenness going on, all these straight lines. And you might think, it's not too impressive. But what's really cool about this is we can zoom in now on the type, and we can grab the direct selection tool, the white arrow, and we can begin to select bits of this this type. So I can do something like grab this little corner of the A, right? I'm just going to select all anchor points, hit Command or Control T to free transform it, and I can rotate it this way so it looks like the A is actually breaking off that way, all right? I can grab this whole base on the A here, and I can move it down a little bit maybe, and over just a little bit. Maybe I can free transform the whole thing and begin breaking it sort of this way. All right, so you can use all of these paths, to your advantage here because you're going to be able to take all of these different anchor points. You can see I'm just shift-clicking multiple anchor points, and then you can free transform and you can bend entire letters. You can adjust, how these letters are sort of breaking up. Now, it takes a little bit of time to go through and do that, but you can see very quickly I've changed the way the A looks. This isn't something you can just do with a distressed mask on a type layer. So we have all these big chunks of letters we can do. You can see the C is broken up into multiple pieces. The O has been broken up into multiple pieces. S, E, all these different letters. You can go in and begin breaking these letters up, piecing them, breaking them apart, making all kinds of cool real shattered text. And the beauty of this is it's completely vector, at least the cut up part of the type. Obviously the distressed nature of it isn't, but you can re-distress once you've applied this text to whatever you want to apply it to. But the great thing is I can select this type and I can make it much, much larger, and all of my shattered text is going to stay completely where it is and completely intact and be tack sharp because it's vector. So that is how to create shattered, true shattered text in Photoshop. You can see here I've applied just a slight color effect to it as well. This type is completely broken up and smashed. With a little bit of time, you can adjust your paths and create really, really cool patterns with all of your shattered text. So that is it for this one. Thank you so much for hanging in and watching it. Make sure you go check out tutvid.com for lots of great free video tutorials. Thanks for watching, guys.